and it's to get a rim runner. And the
Right.
Claxton thing so far has been a disaster because of whatever's going on with his nose, and which sounds crazy to say on a podcast. And
Right. I was looking at him on the bench, like looking to see if he had any like a broken nose or if it looked like it'd been bandaged or anything like that. That like
so you're right. The rim running thing is 100% was a definite, and what's gone on there. And look, I would argue, look, not even having a backup rim running guy who's even like fresh off of the G League, like even like one of the guys that was brought into the bubble or whatever, you could argue would have more of an impact than having James Johnson or something like that on the bench. But
right, like they didn't see James Johnson sucks. Like now, like
well,
for us, you can't blame the fans because we were thinking about James Johnson we saw in Miami. We were thinking, all right, we get this dude in. He might be a little old, but he'll still be the same guy from Miami. That's where it had me fooled. How the fuck, Sam, was Dwayne Dedman out there and we didn't sign Dwayne Dedman? And he used to try to like talk to the Nets bench to sign him in games when he was on the Hawks. Like he'd be looking at the Nets bench like, call me. Like, remember that dude? And we never.
The James Johnson thing, he was basically brought in to be like the punk of the team and to basically like talk smack with like the PJ Tuckers of the world when that shit goes down. That's basically what and like they've almost admitted that to be the case. Like there's a reason why he always comes up on the list of like top 5 or 6 like toughest guys in the NBA or whatever. That's what he was like there to do. So like look, it's not, I don't think it's that big of a deal one way or another. But going back to my original point, it's that when you brought in those 3 stars, you're basically saying we're building around these 3 guys, and the 2 things we need are shooting and a rim runner on offense, and on defense we just need some type of toughness. And so look, they have Mills, they have Harris, they thought Claxton could have been like some type of rim runner. And the truth is look, I agree with you. I think the defensive numbers are a little overblown. I haven't been as blown away as other Nets fans have with their defense, but their defense has been better, and I think we're seeing the impact of Steve Clifford being like an advisor to the team in that way. And so I do think the defense is better, and I do think having guys
but the
like
defense has not been good against top end talent.
No,
it hasn't. In all of our losses, right? That we've lost to above 500 teams, and some of them are below 500 because they're having, some of the teams in the East are having a weird time, right? But when the lights come on, they're proven, they're champions. They'll be back. The problem with the Nets defense is it doesn't do the things that you're going to need to win playoff games. If you think you could win playoff games without rebounding, you are sorely mistaken. If you think you could win playoff games without converting high percentage shots, if you're shooting less than 60% from the paint, you have a major problem. So my problems, like, again, are they going to win 55 games this year? Probably. But we've seen that already. I don't want to root for the J-Kid Nets.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone watching the J-Kid Nets enjoyed it, loved it, but deep down inside, they knew we didn't have the Nets didn't have the center to pull that off. They did not even a little bit. So if the Nets didn't have the center to pull that off, that's our namesake. Rod Thorne's problem for not getting a center that could contain Shaq. He knew what was the landscape out there. Same thing with playing against the Spurs. You have to know what the landscape of the league is and what you're missing and address it. And like the Nets back then, more so because they didn't have the money, now they have the money, so it's less of an even excuse to say, oh, we don't have certain components because we don't have the money. Like, if that's the case, we've failed. Like this whole experiment has failed, and I think it's in jeopardy. I'm very upset, Sam. I'm sorry.
But what do you? I guess so. What are you basically concerned about? Because they have KD locked up. They are a 10-5 team. are you nervous about Harden like leaving? Or are you nervous about
No, I'm more worried about Harden staying because I don't know how you fix this. I don't. Sam, does Blake Griffin start for any of the 30 NBA teams in this year?
I would honestly have to look through, but I
Just
get your point.
do your gut feeling. Like we have two starters right now. I would say three, but we have two starters: Bruce Brown, Blake Griffin, who would not start for all 30, all 29 of our opponents. And I went through all of them. He would not. Blake Griffin is really bad, guy. Like he's horrible, Sam.
But this is my all right, so this is my thing though, okay? And I'm bringing it back home full circle.
Okay.
So I have like repeatedly kind of compared this team like this team is a three-headed monster of superstars, right? In a salary cap league. And so you have to make moves on the margins. The 2012-2013 Heat, the three guys who played the most on the team, obviously the three guys that played the most were obviously the three stars. It was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. The other guys on the team were Birdman, Joel Anthony, Shane Battier, Chalmers, Ray Allen, Norris Cole, Udonis Haslem, James Jones, Dexter Pittman. I mean, like, these guys suck. A lot of these guys are terrible.
But I'm sorry. Every one of those guys that you've mentioned is better than the Nets. Give me someone on the Nets supporting cast that's better than that. And you forget they had Ray Allen, too. Like, their version of Patty Mills was Ray Allen.
No, but okay, but Ray Allen was solid, but he was basically at the end of the road, and Ray Allen was not better than Joe Harris is right now. Like Mike Miller was not better than Patty Mills is right now. Like I mean, a lot of these. I mean, Birdman was not, or Joel Anthony.
I mean, he did lead the league in shooting that year. And 3-point shooting that year, and he did win them. Like, when you can't tell me that with the money on the line, you'd rather have Joe Harris shooting from the corner three than Ray Allen.
Okay, yeah, sure, but I also think that Joe Harris overall as a player was far more complete than Ray Allen was at that point. Ray Allen was basically like a corner 3-point shooter, and Joe Harris is like doing a lot of different things outside of that. You know what I mean? I mean,
I wouldn't say a lot of different things. He's trying to be gritty. He's trying to be good. I don't even think that's a fair comp. Like, even old, decrepit post Boston Celtics Ray Allen, I'm sorry, he's better than Joe, and he does more than Joe.
That I have a hard time agreeing. I just think that when you have a team. I think a lot of this frustration is just all stems from the fact that people are upset about all of this stuff is just a ripple effect, trickle down effect or ripples of Kyrie not being there. Like, there's just no other way around it. Like,
I would love to have Kyrie traded. I would love to trade Kyrie, but you know why I don't talk about it? You know why I don't say it? Because they're not trading Kyrie.
Right, but that's why, look, like, me and you have talked about this. Like, if I told you tomorrow, Eve, you wake up, take Trey to school, whatever, and you find out that Kyrie's been traded for Simmons, you have a very different view on how this Nets roster is constructed, its athleticism, its defensive tenacity, like all that stuff. The issue is that right now they're not getting any value from a third of their salary. Like, I mean, just imagine that. I guess in soccer and baseball it's not really equivalent, but it's like in football when you have like $40 million in dead cap, you're dead. Like, your team sucks. Like, it's just impossible.
No, I like, you can't argue against those things. But my thing with that is you could put Kyrie back into this lineup, and we still won't defensive rebound. We still won't run the floor. There's still nobody else who can catch a fucking lob and dunk it.
But they
our high percentage, our high field goal percentage, shooting is abysmal, And it trickled down to other things. Like for some reason we can't fucking buy a free throw. Like Kevin Durant is shooting his lowest percentage from the free throw line since his rookie year. This is crazy what's happening with this team, and it's because people are out of position. People are all trying to like sacrifice and do more. Like Kevin Durant shouldn't be playing these minutes. They're gonna break him.
No, I mean I've been saying that forever. I think that they're playing him too much, and I think he has to play too much because Kyrie's out, and Harden can't be the workhorse he usually is of like pitching 9 innings of like.
And that's where we differ. Like I think it's just because the rest of the roster is irresponsible. I think Harden is not his typical 99.9. Top 1 percentile of basketball, top 0.5 percentile of basketball players. He's not that guy right now, but he's a all-star level guy. If he didn't have to play with shit, I'm sorry. Bruce Brown might be a good player, but he's a horrible power forward.
No, but yeah,
Blake Griffin might be all right for a few bench minutes every now and then, but he's a horrible starting center. That makes James Harden worse. You could at least agree with me that playing with those two takes away 25% of James Harden's game.
No, I agree that I think that those guys are not ideal, and which is exactly why I think that we
lost you, Sam. I hope we didn't lose you permanently. Well. Maybe that's God saying.
You hear me?
There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. We heard. We saw last year, right? What was the theme of last year? You would have KD and Kyrie start with Harden, with Harris, and with a big. KD and Kyrie sit. Harden gets to play with a bunch of shooters and like a Claxton type, and even though some of the pieces were weird and whatnot, you could put Bruce Brown with one of them, whatever. It didn't matter.
Right. You had guys last year that could finish, that could come into the second team and drive to the basket.
The only guy you're talking about is Jeff Green. That's the only guy you're talking about. I don't know who else
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think Shamet was better than all of these guys that come off the bench. I think so. Who's better than Shamet out of all the guys that come off the bench?
Mills.
LMA. LMA. Okay.
Yeah, and Mills.
All right, I'll give you that. I just think Shamet was a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, a little bit. He had more to do than
He was also totally soft. He didn't. You could tell that the team didn't really believe in him. He has the thing that Bill Simmons calls like Shamet face, where it looks like it just doesn't look like he's that confident in anything that he's doing. Look, I think a lot of this right now is that last year, I think when we look back on that roster and we're like, they had Shamet and Jeff Green and Tyler Johnson and Mike James. And this year they have LaMarcus, who's playing out of his mind, Patty Mills.
But is he playing out of his mind, or is he making a lot of mid-range jumpers?
He's shooting a really high percentage. He has a bunch of blocks every single game. He's definitely playing. He's definitely playing really well. There's no doubt about it.
Playing in quicksand. I love LA. I think he's a good player, but he's slow as fuck. And then he's always arriving late. They'll go on a fast break, and then he'll just show up plodding. He's like Brooke Lopez-ian in play, and Brooke is more spry than him right now.
Right. Well, LMA is also older. He was in I think he was in the 05 or 06 draft. He's one of the oldest guys in the league at this point. And so,
dude,
I don't know.
So
I just have a hard time. What was that?
I said this is so bad. I'm sorry.
I just have a hard time. I have a hard time being directing my energy and my anger anyone else besides the two guys who are supposed to be the foundation of this team, because like that is who's supposed to be winning games. No one looks back on finals and they're like, you know what,